Time to make a video because I just got a question that was very good, and I gave kind of a snarky answer. So let me try to answer it in this video. Okay, what's the question? Hold on. Hold on while I try to figure out what I'm going to do here. I'm not going to wear the gaiters. This is obsidian, right? But it's a opaque obsidian for those who are not into saying the word dacite for this stuff. Yeah, I don't have to wear my gaiters that help me to avoid these really bad slivers. This one doesn't produce slivers, this type of obsidian. Not the really bad ones. This is more like a chert. Okay. So the question is, why hit above centerline? Why would you hit or remove a flake by hitting or putting pressure above centerline? Why would you do that? Well, it's the same answer for all flakes. Why would you hit in any location or in any way or with any initial conditions? Why would you do that for any flake? The answer is the same for all. It's because of the results. What result does it give you? That's why you do it. Now, that's a snarky answer, right? I think I'm using the word snarky correctly. It doesn't really help you because you might say, well, I get really nothing when I hit above center line. I don't get nothing. Or I get something terrible. So why do it? Well, just keep trying. Keep trying to get a good flake by hitting above center line. Sometimes you'll get a good flake. Supposedly good for you anyway. Like, unless you don't like all flakes, you just like perfectly narrow and long flakes. Yeah. And then you know 99% of the other flakes that you get are going to be bad. So you would say this it doesn't tell me anything because the results are 99% bad. Well, for you, yes, but for me, I like all flakes, even the ones that break, even the ones that crush. Do I sometimes create flakes that break on purpose or crush on purpose? Is that why I like them? No. I like them because something happened. And again, this kind of snarky doesn't help you. I like flakes that actually happen. They're much better than when nothing happens. Okay, that's your baseline. Now from there, we can expand on it. Okay, now if I can hit above center line if I just want a short flake, and pretty much guarantees me only a short flake anyway, hitting above center line. I hit above center line because I want to remove a short flake, and that's why I do it. Can I remove long flakes by hitting above center line? Sometimes yes, depending on the material. Not all material reacts the same way to a strike or a pressure flake initiating above center line. Okay? It does make a difference. It's part of what makes a difference when you generate a flake. The other parts, what are the other parts? The tool tip, the material, the angle. It's not just where the edge is. There's a bunch of other stuff. The amount of force, all that kind of stuff affects the kinds of flakes you get. So if I want to generate, let's go for a spot above center line. That one is above center line right there. What happens if I hit that? Well, depends on how I hit it. I can hit it at this angle, that angle, this angle, this angle, this angle, this angle, this angle, and maybe this angle, depending on if it has a step fracture. There's an infinite amount of angles in there that I could hit it. to generate a flake? What if I just want to move the edge further that way? That's one reason for hitting above centerline, if I want to move the edge this way. Another reason is maybe there's a little defect and I want to pop that defect off. As an example, there are many reasons why you would hit above centerline. Maybe I'm just too impatient. I'm trying to get a flake and I don't want to lose width by moving the edge that way, by chipping and moving the edge that way. I'll just hit it and see if it does generate a flake. So let's see if it does generate a flake. Yeah, I hit above centerline and it generated that flake. Look at how that's a large bulb. Okay. Now, sometimes do I want a large bulb? Well, yeah, if I want to notch, because that gives me a real thin spot to start notching. As an example, that's just one reason. There are an infinite number of reasons, because there's an infinite number of flakes that can be generated and an infinite number of angles to place it at, and an infinite number of variations on the force. All of them could have slightly different reasons. Okay? New people, sometimes they don't understand the implications of why we do things in knapping. So they ask these questions and they get answers that are difficult to understand because you're new. Yeah. You ask the question because you're new, but then it's hard for you to understand the answer because you're new. That's the new person's dilemma. Yeah. So yeah, I sympathize. But just keep in mind, the reason why we do these strikes is to achieve a result of some kind. That's the reason behind all flakes, or all attempts at generating flakes. Okay? Now, this one was a perfect place, and I shouldn't say perfect, a very good platform, very good place for a flake, but yet it didn't do exactly what I wanted. And you might say, well, this is the result. If this is the result, that means you just said it's because that's why you took it, because of the result. Yeah. Well, it only applies if I knew it was going to do that. Yeah. I didn't know it was going to do that. I had in my mind that it was going to do something that wasn't steppy. So you have to recognize what are mistakes and what are not mistakes. Okay? That's a mistake. A step fracture is a mistake unless you want one. And I don't know anybody that wants a step fracture. Now, if you want to try to duplicate an artifact that has a bigger step fracture in there, and you want it to look exactly like the artifact, yeah, okay, that's a reason for a step fracture, and you can try to intentionally do it. Yeah. Okay, so maybe that's one exception. But other than that, there's no reason to make mistakes. Now, was that a mistake or was that an intentional? Well, I knew it was going to stop there. I just wanted to make this more level because there was a lump right there. Yeah, it's a mistake because it's not ideal to have the step fracture. Is it also a mistake to be too wide or scoop out too much in the beginning? Yeah, all of those things that are not desirable are mistakes. And we try to avoid them, if possible. If not, then, oh well, doesn't matter. I don't know if that answers the questions of why you would hit above centerline, but it's basically the same answer for any type of flake. You take the flake because you're expecting a certain result. And you've got to recognize what's a mistake and what's not a mistake. It has to do with the intent. Yeah. Yeah, it does have to do with the intent. The intent does matter in Flintknapping. It might not matter in real life, but in other things. But in Flintknapping, the intent does matter. When trying to understand, why. I'm going to try to finish this out. I started this one on a different video. I shouldn't be running flakes at this stage into the middle. I need to get it more narrow, but I just wanted to demonstrate. Okay? This shows up, these flake scars show up really well. This is what I call a land bridge right here. When you try to clear that from the other side, try to clear a step fracture from the other side, either way, and it doesn't reach all the way, you create a land bridge. What is it called in Flintknapping? Other than stupid napping? It's not called that either anyway. But I don't know what it's called in Flintknapping, or someone has invented a term. I just called them land bridges. Yeah. Is that above centerline or below centerline? Sometimes I don't even care. It doesn't matter. You can achieve flakes either way. Above centerline or below or at centerline. And it's up to you, or everyone has their own way of generating what they think is the perfect flake. I have my way of generating what I think is the perfect flake. Other knappers have their ways of generating what they think is a perfect flake. And they have different ideas on what the perfect flake is. Yeah. Depends on what you're trying to accomplish. For me, any flake that is clean and doesn't cause a defect, it doesn't matter how long it is or how wide or deep or whatever. As long as it's free from mistakes, I think that's a perfect flake. Mistake free is a perfect flake. Are there any perfect flakes that are completely mistake free? I don't know, maybe yes, but they're rare because there's always something wrong. Something that could have been better. Let's put it that way. Okay. So if I want to make this more narrow, if I want to make it fully flaked, I need to make it more narrow. It's easier if I make it more narrow so I can flake across there, but I'm thinking it might sell for more if I keep it wide. Yeah, because it's hard to keep these wide. Well, let's try it. I'm going to try to keep it wide for now. And if it doesn't work, I'll make it more narrow. Okay, and I'll try to explain my mindset and the reasons why I'm doing these. Now this is at centerline. This is below here. These are about centerline. There might be a spot like right there that's above centerline. I tend to hit areas that are below or at centerline, but I've been known to hit above centerline too. It depends on, again, what I think the results are going to be. See how crunchy that is right there? If I want to get rid of the crunch and then move the edge that way, I'll hit above centerline. And some people say, well, that's what I wanted to know. Yeah, but there are other reasons besides that. Because they're, infinite possibilities. They're very slightly. I think you get what I mean. Many reasons why you do it, depending on the results you want. from past experience, mainly. Now, some people can imagine what it'll do without any experience or with minimal experience. Yeah, that's a very good ability to have. It's almost like a superpower. You've never done it, but you can kind of expect what's going to happen, and sure enough, that's what happens. It's intuitive for you. It's a good ability to have, yes, but not all of us have that. If you got it and you do Flintknapping, you're going to have less of a difficult time learning. Yeah. Because you can kind of judge what's going to happen before you do it without much experience or without any experience. I haven't encountered anyone like that, but I'm assuming it is possible because some people act like that's what they are. That's how they are. It's going to do a certain thing. Well, have you done it? No, but I can tell it's going to do it. And sure enough, you're right. How do they know? I don't know. They've never done it before, but yeah, sure enough, they were right. Yeah. Some of them get too confident and go, well, I was right before, so I'm going to take another shot at it and tell you something else too. Yeah. I wouldn't get too overconfident. Yikes, that was too much. You made too much of a big deal on the question. Some people might say. I just wanted to know why you hit above centerline. You made a big deal. Gets on my nerves. Yeah, I apologize. But questions like that actually get on my nerves too. The answer gets on your nerves and the question gets on my nerves. I have to admit. If you want to know why I did a certain flake, just look at the result. It's not always a good indicator, but just look at the result of what happened. That'll tell you, in many cases, why I did it. Yeah. Inward force causes crunchies. Lots of crunchies in that case. Yeah, this is... I can't drive long flakes on this stuff for some reason. Because it doesn't want to do it. It's not like the green glass or the blue glass. I just came off of doing glass, right? So it's still with me. The techniques, the angles, the forces, and blah, blah, blah. The grindings and all that. The abrading. It's carrying over from the glass, right? But it's not working on this stuff. I mean, I can get it thinned down a lot, but it's causing crunchings that doesn't happen with the glass I was just working. Yeah, the glass I was just working doesn't crunch like this. It doesn't do this, not exactly. Right? This is really weird. Okay. Weird in comparison. If you're used to this material, you would say, no, that's not weird. I always get that. No, I'm talking about in comparison to the glass. So yeah, I got to make it more narrow because I'm having to strike really hard on these edges to get the flakes to travel, and it doesn't like it. Not at all. If you just do it right, it doesn't matter if the stone likes it or not. Oh, yeah? You think so? You think you're right about that? Think so, huh? I don't know. You don't offer how to do it right. You just say it wasn't done right. Because you say, oh, that's obvious. It's not done right. Because you didn't do it right. Yeah. Well, what is the right way? Whatever it is that you didn't do. Yeah. Okay. You see where that kind of discussion goes, right? It doesn't go anywhere. When you say stuff like, it just didn't do it right. You just didn't do it right. You're not doing it right. Obviously, because it didn't get done. It didn't get done right, so you didn't do it right. Yeah. I wish it was that simple. You might have done everything right, but then something isn't cooperating. There's something that you're not foreseeing. Or there could be reasons why it didn't go. Inconsistency in the stone. Your depth perception is off. You burped while you were trying to knap that particular flake. I mean, it could be a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So, yeah. Knapping is a lot of trial and error, I think. It's not like writing. Although writing is a lot of trial and error too, to get it to sound right or to look right in some cases. But it's much easier to show someone how to do it right with other types of things. Like writing, it's easier to show someone how to write something properly. You don't say stuff like, you just didn't write that right. Yeah, okay, I know. It's like, that's a Captain Obvious statement. Yeah, and it's easy to correct. You can just say, well, you should have said blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Flintknapping is a little more complicated than that. Because it's a game of chance. It is a game of chance. Like rolling the dice. If I roll a 2 and I wanted a 7, you don't say, you just didn't roll the dice right. You wanted a 7, you got a 2. That means you didn't roll the dice right. It's a game of chance, buddy. Yeah, but it's obvious you didn't get the result you wanted, so you didn't do it right. No, you wouldn't say that about rolling dice. A lot of times Flintknapping is just like rolling the dice. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. Okay? Okay. I can get it pretty thin. Question is, can I get the other side thin? And this stuff, this Dacite, I'm going to call it Dacite, I don't care. This Dacite is getting into the tip of the copper. It's more clingy than other materials into the copper itself. I don't know what to call it, but it sticks into the copper tip a lot. it becomes impregnated into the copper tip, which causes it to not grab the edge or not dimple as well, or something. It causes a malfunctioning that we're not accustomed to in the tip of the tool. We're not accustomed to as flint knappers, because we're supposed to be knapping with clean, clear surfaces, right? That's what we're used to. You can knap with all kinds of stuff embedded in there and get used to doing it that way. The results a lot of times won't be as good, but you can still do it. And maybe you can get good at knapping even with poor tools. But in general, yeah. It's not good. All right, can I thin it now? No? I mean, can I send flakes across? I can thin it, but is it still too wide? It might still be too wide. Once I have it fully flaked, I'm just going to stop on this one and go on to the next video. Yeah. Now, is abrading similar to striking? Because what would be the purpose of abrading something downward, abrading on something above centerline, going downward? See, if that edge is above centerline, like right there, what would be the purpose of abrading it in that direction to make it even more above centerline or below centerline? What would be the purpose? Well, to prepare for the next strike. Where was I going with that? It's not below, it's above, to cause the line to be above center line, the line of the edge to be above center line. Like that right there is above center line, and I was going downward like this. Well, it's so I can flip it over and nap that way. So if I flip it over, it's now below center line. But the same is true for anything that modifies the edge, a percussion flake or a pressure flake or an abrading flake. It's the same. You can do it the same. You can do it for the same reason. I'm just moving the edge and strengthening the edge. But like I said, there's many different reasons why you would strike with the edge above centerline instead of below centerline or at centerline like most people. Dang it, that one didn't do well at all. That might actually have ruined it. I see a crack. I'm going to have to be very careful. Yeah. Dang it. Yeah, I see some weirdness. Everything was going good until that happened. Dang it. Well, now it's a bunch of damage control. Yeah, and a bunch of... it really doesn't like it when I force the inward strikes. use a lot of force to force the inward strikes. Yeah. It does it okay there, but it has to have a lot of meat on it, I guess. I don't know. So my focus now is to get rid of that crack area. I might have to go really narrow now. How did that happen? I really don't know. Obviously I didn't do it right. Yeah. Something happened very unexpectedly there. Right here. So it's important that I get rid of the crack first before I start thinning this again, because I can start thinning this right now and obey my rule about thinning before I hit in the middle-ish. But I might break the whole thing by hitting that, and leaving that crack in there while I'm doing it. So I'm going to have to get rid of the crack, I think, first. It runs deep. I don't think it was already in there. I think I installed that crack. But who knows? It's hard to tell. Dang it. I think I installed it because of the force of the strike. Yeah, I just can't handle that much force. It's actually pretty strong material because it hasn't broken yet. It can be thinned down. It just doesn't. It doesn't like it. It likes to be thin. It just doesn't like the process of getting it there. Yeah. Okay, so it does need a certain amount of strength and flexibility for me to work on the tips and the ends. That crack could open up here any minute now. I need to get under it without getting too narrow. And there goes somewhere the tip, which is okay because I'm working with a much weakened piece. Come on. Wondering if it has directional grain, which makes it difficult to nap in a certain direction because it's all crunchy on this side. Am I actually deepening that crack or am I just exposing it? That's a good question. I'm glad you asked. I don't know. See, I'm getting all these weird cracks hitting in this direction. When it's thin. When it's thick, there isn't a problem. But as you know, when you've been, well, those of you who have been watching the channel, you know there's a whole different ball game once it starts getting thin. The stone changes, or the way the stone flakes changes. The way the stone is flaking will change as it gets thinner. I don't know, I can apply force sometimes. Lots of it. It doesn't do anything bad, but it's highly unpredictable. Okay. Well, that one I knew that was going to mess up because I could feel it. It moved. The tip moved. Let's see what I can do here. Let's see if this area is pickable. Can I pick some of that out? Yeah, it might be pickable. It's becoming minimized. But there's still a crack there. Nothing on the other side. On artifacts, I noticed there's not much of that going on. There's not much of the cracking stuff left in. I have yet to see an artifact that has a large crack like that. I've seen small cracks on artifacts, but not big ones like this. I don't see that on artifacts. Maybe I just haven't looked at enough. I've seen, heat damaged heat treats that were still napped even when they're heat damaged. They take them out of the fire and it looks damaged, but they're still napped. Yeah, I can tell that they napped the material regardless of the heat treat doing bad things to the stone. Yeah. But as far as cracks like this, I don't see any. So I got to get it out. Got to be a good reason for not having those in there. Bad luck. It certainly is. You avoid bad luck by taking those out. And what I'm doing is I'm just trying to thin this edge down. I'm not too worried about the step fracturing again. Lately I've been not worrying about the step fracturing. By coincidence, I think. It's just a coincidence. I'm trying to see how much I need to remove here. There's just a slight bit left. I think I can live with that. That might come out later in the pressure flaking. I don't think it'll affect any further flaking. So I can continue now with our regularly scheduled programming and just snap it in a normal way without having to worry too much. And I can hit pretty solidly on the tip now without worrying too much, because it does flex slightly. It needs a little bit of flex in order to withstand these end hits. When I hit the ends, it likes to mess up on the ends. Yeah. On the edges. Likes to mess up on the edges. So what am I going to make? A point with incurved sides. Or no, I got way too much on this side. I gotta work on the symmetry. I can have an incurved edge on both sides, but I can't have it too incurved, because then I can't match it on the other side. See, this bulges out too much on this side. If I wanted to create the same bulge on this side, I'll have to take way too much off of this. So what do? Take off lots of this or take off lots of that? I'd rather take off lots of this on this side. But that's just me. Yeah. All right, let's continue. Yeah. And make it nice. Nice flakings, if possible. Let's try to make it look nice. Okay? All right. Maybe the tip of my tool is too big. The tip of the flaker. I gotta inspect to see what happens after each strike. Very carefully inspect it. I don't want another crack. If I keep getting cracks like that, I'm gonna have to adjust the way I strike. Somehow. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do. A lot of times it's just trial and error. I gotta change it, so I start tweaking it in different directions until I can find something that works. Because I don't have that intuition that tells me what to do before I actually do it. Okay, see that? Normally flakes, what they do is they just follow the contour a little bit. The previous contour. This particular material doesn't like doing that. So it'll resist following the previous contour. Now some materials are like this that are really bad at following a previous contour, and some are not. Some will follow like it was going uphill right there at the side of that flake. See, here's the initiation right there. It went this way. A lot of material, when you do that, the sides will fan out, but they'll go up the hills on either side. This one didn't. Now, I might have struck it this way too much into that, and I might have tilted it too much this way so that the semicircle was actually digging in to this side more than that side. That's possible. Or it just doesn't like going uphill, and in some cases it'll stop like that. Either one or both. Or maybe it's something else, I don't know. But those are the two main culprits. If I angle it too much this way, it tends to dig into that side. You might say, why did you do that? I didn't do it on purpose. It was an oversight. Yeah. Yeah, you call it an oversight just so you can say it wasn't a goof up. Okay, fine. It was a goof up. Yeah, there we go. I can clear this mess out a little bit later with another big flake like this on this side. Yeah. That's the theory anyway. See, I can do large flakes and without messing it up. Sometimes. Take care of all the step fractures. Yeah. It's still, it looks a little bit steppy. Yeah. It's better not to do that, not to have step fractures, but you know. I took the easy way out and just said I would live with the result. That's the easy way out. You just say, nah, I'll live with it. It doesn't matter. Oh, that's the kind of flake I like. Yeah. Voila. I want one of those right there where it's all flakery. Is it asking too much? Maybe. Maybe it's asking too much. I don't have far to go on this one now. If I take some off of this side for the symmetry, it'll beef up this edge so I have a lot more meat and I can drive some of these kinds of flakes up in here. Yeah. Okay, I'm just symmetrizing it right now. It's already pretty thin. It likes being thin. It just doesn't like the process. Yeah, I already said that, I know. But it's funny. Some stones, they actually like the process, or they cooperate in the process of being thinned down. But all of a sudden, unexpectedly, it'll snap right in half because it doesn't have the flexibility. Yep. I don't know which is worse. Well, the non-snap and halfishness, I think that's the most desirable thing. I don't want material that snaps in half easy. I'll put up with just about anything if it doesn't snap in half easy. Yeah. Yeah. Even though I could take some flakes, I don't want to cause a curvature. It didn't go all the way. So, yeah, that one should have gone further, but it didn't. Dang it. I was looking for a nice big wide flake, like one of these, right there. But it didn't do it. Why did you take that flake? Well, because the result is really bad. Looking at the result is not a good answer. Well, the intent is important. I intended it to be better than that. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Was that above center line or at center line or below center line? That was below center line. Yep, that's strike. I followed the rules that way. You know, the common rule. Strike below center line. On that one. I don't always. And the reason is I think I can get away with it. I think it'll do what I want. Like I think those last two were above center line. It didn't do what I wanted, but it could have done what I wanted. Was that one above center line? I don't know. I think it was at. A lot of times I don't care. It just looks like it might work. So now you know. Hopefully. Yeah, but you're still snarky. I know, I'm still snarky. Or I give an answer that's very annoying on purpose. It's so crackly. Dang it. Yeah. It's really thin. I like it. I like the material because I can thin it. I don't see how I can make it look nice and pretty without risking all these edge defects. You know, lots of cracks, some step fractures near the edge, all kinds of stuff. Okay, let's try this. Should have taken the glove off a long time ago. All right. That one did it. That's a nice big flake. The next one, I don't know. I may have to actually get the pressure flaker out to make this edge perfect. Some might say I'm abrading too much and it's going over into other areas I shouldn't abrade. Well, yes, I know. It is true. But, you know, it's kind of handy to have a lot of it abraded just in case I mess up that one. I can hit in some other area. I think it's handy to have more abraded surface than less. Yeah. Ready? Voila. That's better than a sip of soup. Yep. I like sips of soup, but that's better than a sip of soup. So good. Tasty. Yeah. Is that why I flint nap? For those satisfying moments? Isn't that part of the journey? You've discovered parts of the journey that are good. Haven't you? Huh? Okay, fine. Yeah, some of the journey's okay. But that's only because the rest of it was really sucky. In comparison, some people would say, you get excited over that? Yeah, because everything else was gut-wrenching. Yeah. And it started out as a nice big old piece, and now it's all narrow. I'm sweating over here too, because this is the sweat stage. I've been in the sweat stage since that thing cracked. Ready? Voila. I like it. Yeah, that's part of the journey. I do like those. But don't let it go to your head, because I normally don't like the journey. Yeah. I like looking at it. See, I didn't like making those flakes. Trying to make that one was a mental torture, but I guess the destination was good. So maybe it's still not the journey. Maybe I can still say that it's not part of the journey, because making that flake was a torture. Setting it up and worrying about it and being hyper focused on the strike intensity, being hyper focused on the edge quality. It was really nerve wracking. But then when it finally works, that's the destination. So I take that back. I still don't like the journey at all. Yeah. I like those. Looks like I did that on purpose in sequence, but I didn't. Okay. It might have been in sequence on the surface, but in time-wise, I skipped all the way around, and those are not in sequence in time. These are dispersed in time, but they're in sequence on the surface. So you don't know some of these sequentially flaked points. You don't know if they were sequenced one after the other in time, or if they skipped around a lot. Sometimes you can tell if they skipped around a lot, but you can't always tell. Yeah. And that's part of how they were made. Yeah. If you don't know how they skipped around from one part of the point to the next, you don't know exactly how it was made. You might think that doesn't matter, but it does matter. Because, they may have been ADHD nappers back in the day, or something like that. Yeah, it affects the napping. Now, they say ADHD I think, is a heritable trait. So you can inherit it. Some people are more susceptible to the symptoms than others, or more susceptible to having the symptoms. And we don't know how much of it is environmental and how much is inherited. I don't think we know that yet. There may have not been much ADHD in that case. Back in the day, if there wasn't very many people that had it. But if we can see the signs of ADHD in the flaking of the points, it might give us an indication that they had it or not. How can you tell if they had it or not? Well, I don't know. There might be some way to tell. If they're OCD or neurotypical, or crazy as heck, I don't know. I should leave it. Just leave it alone. I'm going to do a measurement on the ratio here in a minute. Yeah, I'll leave it. I'm starting to get those. That means I've reached the limits. I'm approaching the limits of my ability. Yeah. All right, so let's do the width, the thickness, and get this over with. Too much torture. 48, let's say 48 millimeter, right there. 48 millimeter, and I'm going to measure the thickness. What is it? Tell me it's 4. That way you can go in evenly. 4 millimeter into 48. What is it? 12 to 1. Let's see, 4 times 48. 4 times 12 is 48. Yeah. So it likes to be thin. It just doesn't like the process. Yeah. And I like when it actually fans out and makes a nice flake. I could probably take another one here, right there, but I don't want to ruin my luck. Yeah, because you start to introduce bad luck scenarios, and guess what? When you play those odds, eventually they'll catch up with you. So I'll probably finish this off camera so I won't break it with the pressure flaking. Yes, I do break these with pressure flaking if I'm not careful, especially at that ratio. Yikes. Okay, alrighty, so there you go. I like, which side do I like better? I like this side. Yeah. All right, there you go. That's it. Yes, as soon as I get a photo. Yeah. Now that's it.